God bless Jane Espenson, I mean seriously. It was a little bit lackluster if I'm being particularly honest, and I am because it's my channel and I can. Regina being shown as a master swordsman 6 seasons in is a little off to me, and let's not even really get started on the weird evil queen Rumpelstiltskin thing happening. I mean, I'm still on board the train that says that Rumpel is her real father, but, you know. And I really don't know much about the Count of Monte Cristo, so his inclusion just, maybe it didn't work for me, or it just felt weird to me because I don't know anything about the character or the story. Somebody put it really funnily this week, where the Land of Untold Stories is actually the land of most hated English lit papers. So, but anyway, the last couple of weeks I haven't really been feeling that great, and this episode last week didn't do much for me to make me feel better. But then this week happened, and it restored me. And okay, in total honesty, it is not for the reason that you think it is, though that plays a pretty hefty part of it. I really love Jessie Schramm as Ashley. I love the way that she just portrays her. I don't know what it is, but just something about her, just everything just makes me go, I just feel better looking at you. Like, she's just so sweet and kind looking, and like she really makes those rags work somehow. And like I really love Cinderella and like all of the Cinderella stuff that we get to occasionally dip back into. And I really would like them to bring Ashley and Thomas and Alexander back more often, because we don't really get to see so much of the older characters that we really got to know in season 1, and I think that's kind of what we're going to do in a lot of season 6, is like revisit a lot of characters, and I like that because we have a whole lot of fairy tale to work with. So really coming back and checking in on these characters that supposedly had things fixed in season 1 and finding out that like, oh no, still things happen, because that's kind of the point of the show, is that happily ever after is a little more complicated than that. So it was really nice to check back in on these people, and I would like to continue doing that down the line. But I really like Cinderella and Ashley in general, and Jessie Schramm, so please put more of her on, thank you. I mean, story-wise, Ashley running the daycare is kind of adorable, and for another thing, Ashley just coming up and being like, here, distract my toddler, and sitting her down next to Killian, who has no idea how to deal with a child, so his first instinct in this is to say, hey, tell me about your stuffed doggy, and then his next instinct is, I'm going to take this whipped cream and boop it on my own nose and make funny noises at a toddler. Like, it's really unfair, and my ovaries can't take it, so like, I don't know what else to do except make this face. And like, Emma totally gets me, because you've seen her face and the heart eyes that she was radiating towards him. So like, Homegirl and I are on the same page here. So the A plot of this episode is definitely about Ashley. The B plot really centered on Emma and Killian and Henry going off and doing adventure-y things. The C plot is more Regina and the Charmings, and I would even go so far to say that there's even a D plot with David and Belle and Rumpel. And like I said, I really liked going back into the Cinderella story and talking about like, okay, we thought that everything got fixed in season 1, and even like touching in on things in season 2 and kind of touching it again in season 4, but like, even so, the whole point of the show is to be like, happily ever after is not the end of the story. The story continues, because these people are real people in this case, and like their lives continue after they get married. So to take what we knew and to flesh it out a little bit more, and then to also twist it that Cinderella is actually the one who was kind of the wicked stepsister, that's really interesting to me. So yeah, Cinderella's stepsisters were cruel to her, but Clorinda was more of a follower than a leader in that case, and she didn't really like it, and it even went so far as to having her apologize for how her behavior affected Ella. And then even just going into Ella being the one who accidentally ruined Clorinda's happy ending, and then trying her best to fix it, that really goes back into the heart of what I love about this show. And some people were really confused about the fact that like the stepmother and the stepsister went into the Land of Untold Stories, when in season 1 it was like, oh yeah, Ella lives with, or this is Ashley and she lives with her stepmother and her stepsisters, and they're really kind of mean to her. Like, curse magic happened, and like Grace was put with a different family, so I'm okay with being like, oh yeah, so the curse just manufactured people for Ashley to be with, and they were mean to her. So I get it. I totally get it. Also, and I've said this a lot, and I realize that, but Cinderella packing heat will never not be hilarious to me, so thank you for that. I am really interested to see how this whole charming coin thing is gonna work out, like him resolving his issues with his father. There's a lot of chitter chatter around the fandom, and it's probably gonna end up being Hook that does it in for Charming's father, but I'm not really on board with that yet. I mean, I can see it happening because then it's gonna kind of make things a little more interesting if kind of like, okay, this again. With Emma kind of being caught between like her dad and her boyfriend, and they're like, Hook's like, oh, I didn't know, and I'm sorry because I was a bad guy who did a bad thing, and Charming was just like, but you killed my father, and you know how that thread line goes. But the thing that really doesn't like get it for me is that it would have to happen when Hook was still working for Pan, and like I'm not sure if the timeline really matches up that well. Also, like, what would he have been doing like near this highway where this guy would have been trading? I don't know. There's a lot of things that like wouldn't add up for me, and I realize that I'm thinking logically about a show that has historically not always gone the logical way, but you know, that's my fault. And you know, like I said, I am totally willing to like say that yeah, that's a plausible theory of what will happen, but I'm just not on board with it, so I'm not going to speculate any further on it. All the little things that we learned about Belle this week I really enjoyed. I liked seeing just a peek into a little bit more about her, because we get like heaps of things at once, and then it kind of goes to a trickle, and then we get another flood of things, and like she gets one centered episode per season that features her with a guest character, and like I get it, but also it's kind of nice to just peek in every once in a while and be like, oh no, she lives a normal life too, and she snores very heavily, and also she has added a woman's touch to the Jolly Roger by draping gauzy florally fabrics everywhere, and flowers in vases and vases, whatever, and just more and more and more books than there were before, and somehow finding a tape cassette player on there. I mean, I know the Jolly's old, but come on. So speaking of Rumple in a very roundabout way, I know that Bobby had to cut his hair for Trainspotting 2, a movie that he's in. I want to say that's what it is. That starts with a T, and I'm really bad at movies because I'm not paying attention because grad school. But I just noticed this week that he was wearing a wig. I don't know if he was wearing a wig in the episodes before this, and I already deleted them off my DVR, so I can't go back and check. So I don't know if he's been wearing a wig, and I only just noticed this week. And it's a good wig, don't get me wrong, because if it took me 3 episodes to realize it, then it's a good wig. But it just kind of made me go, like, it just made me pause, because I usually am terrible at telling when characters are wearing wigs. I'm usually awful, and I can't tell. But the only reason that I could tell with this one, when they were in the shop, him and Charming, like, his part was really neat, like, up through, I think, like most of his crown here. And Bobby's hair's never been like that, so I was like, oh, that's a wig, because his hair's really neat at the top, and it's usually a little bit messier than that, so I don't know what that says about me, that I finally noticed that. Possibly the worst segue ever. I do get that Snow wants things to go back to normal, that she wants to, like, rebuild the school system, and she wants to go back to teaching. I do, and I appreciate that the Evil Queen and Hyde are going to crash the evil prom later on in the year, though I do kind of question why Queenie is just freeing Hyde now, but that's me picking at nits. And I love that Charming affirms Snow's decision to go back and do this, and he says it's a noble thing to do, and she really wants to build the weirdest science department ever. Also, side note within a segue, I did get confused for about 10 seconds when we panned up on Whale's car, or Frankenstein's car, or whatever he's calling himself now, where it said the doctor, and I don't know if we've ever seen Whale's car before now, but like, I legit thought that somehow ABC had gotten the rights to Doctor Who from BBC and made the Doctor an untold story, and I was like, this is about to be the weirdest crossover ever. But anyway, Snow, maybe if you want things to go back to normal, you don't leave your 3-month-old son with someone? Is he with Granny? Like, who has Neil? Where is, like, we saw an allusion to Neil at the end of the episode, but where is this child? Is he with Granny? I know he's not at daycare because we've been very busy and we can't get to the doctor's office to get all his vaccinations, and you can't go to daycare unless you got all your shots. Just saying. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, let's get to the important things about the Captain Cobra Swan adventures. Truly the most magical gift of all this episode was the hard eyes that Emma and Killian kept tossing at each other throughout the whole episode. Well, okay, so maybe not the most magical, maybe the second most magical, because the first most magical thing that I'm tripping over my words about was the sledgehammer of feels into the face all of the foreshadowing of eventual Captain Swan babies is, and I just continue to smash me in the face with it, because I'm already in deep here, guys. I'm in deep, and you can't really dig me any deeper, so just keep pounding the sledgehammer into my face, because I'm ready for it. We have Killian being absolutely adorable with Alexandra and Emma watching, and we have Emma storming into Archie's office and collapsing in the most adorable way onto his couch and being like, I want to give Killian a future, aka babies, and I can't because I'm gonna die. And like, actually there was some really good advice coming out of Archie in this episode about, like, you know, you can't be constantly afraid of living because you could walk outside and get hit by a bus at any moment, so don't do that, and that's a really good message. So we have her being afraid because she's going to die and she wants to give him a future and she can't do that and she's going to hurt him and she doesn't want to hurt him. And then we have Killian and Henry being absolutely adorable with their stick fighting, and Killian literally ribbing Henry and his voice cracking when he's asking Henry what mother-son bonding is because he forgot what the word was. We have both of Emma Swan's true loves encouraging her and supporting her and believing in her, so her magic comes back and she stops freaking out about everything. We have the moment that Captain Swan invented kissing on October 9th, 2016, after Emma finally asked him to move in with her, and they are so practicing making babies later. Alright, so side note, but I do really like that Leroy is in therapy, because I think it really runs well with the theme that we're going to be going with, where Emma doesn't have to be the one to save everybody all the time. Like, Leroy specifically says, like, you know, we got Dopey out of the tree, it's fine, we don't have to rely on you for everything. And, like, that's really important for her to hear, and she's probably going to have to hear it a couple more times throughout the season, but that's the theme, that's the bing, got it, here's the theme. The character arc for the season is Emma realizing that people can take care of themselves sometimes. Sometimes they're really bad at it, but they can do it. And another side note to the side note, Leroy, if Dopey is in a master's program and it's anything like mine, there's zero time to be flirting with co-eds. I'm sorry. There's a lot of cute ones, and there's a lot of people that you would like to be flirting with, but you are buried in busy work and practicums and internships and graduate assistantships and papers and smoozing with professors to try and, like, please give me an A on this project that I worked my butt off on, and I know it's not good enough, but give me an A anyway because I need to salvage my GPA. We're getting a little off topic, but I also want to know when Dopey got his bachelor's degree. So the only sour note for this episode for me was the scene with Zelina, and, you know, you guys all know how I feel about Zelina, and it's mostly negative, so, like, the point is moot to even continue talking about this. I'm not, like, fully enjoying the Evil Queen stuff either. Like, I can take it or leave it, honestly, but I do kind of like that she unintentionally helped Emma, like, going along with the whole idea that she doesn't have to save everybody all the time and she kind of needs to let everybody else figure their own crap out. Queenie kind of did that for her by forcibly removing her from the situation and, like, making her sit it out. And she's probably not going to appreciate it when it comes back to bite her in the ass later, but I think Emma needed that time to realize, no, don't rely on magic for everything, and just, like, kind of let other people do their thing, and it'll be fine. Anyway, so I know I missed a whole lot because this is, A, it's going to be late, and B, I've talked about a lot of things, and there's only so much that I can remember and elaborate on, so please let me know what I missed down below, and what you liked, and what you didn't like, and etc., etc. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Okay, if my dog could stop barking. That'd be great.